Oh, you finally made it. You, the one they swore they had under control. The one they monitored from the shadows of rooms you never stepped into. The one they dissected behind polished tables and forced politeness. The one they believed would never notice the way conversations shifted the moment your name surfaced. Sit down, because someone on their side finally snapped. And when they did, they didn't just slip, they detonated. They lost everything, their composure, their plan, their unity, and in the wreckage of their meltdown, they dropped the full bomb on who's been after you and why. Names spilled, motives spilled, entire strategies unraveled like a thread being pulled by shaking hands. What came out wasn't an accident. It was a collapse years overdue, and you're about to hear every detail they prayed you would never find out. It started with tension, quiet, unspoken, humming under the surface of their coordinated performance. No one wanted to be the first to look weak. No one wanted to be the one to confess they had been losing control over you for months. But pressure doesn't evaporate, it compresses. And the one who finally broke was the one who pretended to be the most composed. They slammed their palms down on the table, stood up, and shouted your name, like it was a warning bell, not a person. The room froze. They weren't supposed to reveal anything. They weren't supposed to admit how long they'd been running this operation. They weren't supposed to show their fear. But fear has its own schedule, and it didn't ask for permission. The meltdown was messy, not strategic, not dramatic in an elegant way, just raw panic. They blurted everything. The person who orchestrated the smear attempts, the one who studied your triggers, the one who monitored your interactions online, the one who rewrote stories about you before you could speak. They exposed the hidden chain of people who were instructed to manage you, watch you, contain you. Every word came out jagged, frantic, like they were purging poison from their lungs. And the others, they didn't know what to do. They stared, shocked, horrified, knowing the operation was ruined the moment honesty started bleeding into the room. Let's talk about why this happened. They didn't just lose their grip on the plan, they lost their grip on themselves. Because the truth is unsettling, the person they were targeting wasn't someone weak, wasn't someone predictable, wasn't someone who could be pushed into emotional corners and left there. They expected you to break in the ways they understood. They expected you to respond to pressure like everyone else they've ever managed. But you don't move according to their expectations. And that unpredictability created a fracture in their confidence that widened over time until someone finally cracked wide open. The ringleader, the origin of this entire operation, built the plan on one assumption: that you would react, that you would lash out, that you would crumble, spiral, or confront. They needed your reaction to justify their actions. They needed your instability to justify their narrative. They needed your confusion to maintain their power. But when you stopped engaging, when you stepped back, when you started healing without their involvement, the structure of their plan began collapsing. They were no longer in control of your outcome. They were spectators, watching you rebuild without them, and that terrified them more than anything. The confession revealed something disturbing but satisfying. You were never the problem. You were the mirror. You reflected back the insecurities they refused to acknowledge within themselves. You reflected their fear of irrelevance, their fear of being exposed, their fear of losing influence. They couldn't handle that reflection, so they tried to shatter it by targeting you. But mirrors don't die when you break them. They multiply. Every shattered piece reflects a sharper truth. And those truths cornered them until one finally screamed. They admitted to planting people near you, Not physically dangerous people, emotionally strategic ones. People who seemed helpful, interested, supportive, kind. People who acted like they discovered you randomly, like they were drawn to your energy by coincidence. But these weren't coincidences. These were placements, assignments. Individuals told to observe you, collect information, decode patterns, identify weaknesses. They were told to return with intel that could be used against you later. But here's the part that broke their operation. Most of those planted individuals failed. They came back empty-handed because you didn't give them anything to exploit. You didn't hand out emotional leverage like they hoped. You didn't reveal the wounds they were searching for. Some of them even switched sides internally. Spending time with you forced them to confront truths about themselves they weren't ready to face. Their strategy had phases, carefully crafted, documented, rehearsed. Phase 1. Isolate you emotionally. Pull away your support systems. Make people doubt you. Make you doubt yourself. They whispered into the right ears, encouraged certain opinions, staged conversations that painted you as difficult, unstable, or dramatic. But you didn't collapse. You didn't chase after explanations. You adapted. You found strength in the solitude they created as a trap. That alone ruined the integrity of their plan. Phase 2. Provoke you. Push your buttons until you reacted poorly. They wanted anger, tears, defensive behavior, anything that could be used to confirm their accusations. But your restraint was unnerving. You didn't react to their bait. You didn't fall into the emotional traps they set. That restraint became a threat to them. When you refuse to react, manipulators lose their map. Phase 3. Control the narrative. They rehearsed lines about you, practiced facial expressions, coordinated stories, synchronized versions of events so that if anyone questioned them, they'd sound unified and credible. But narrative control fails the moment the truth slips out. And someone in their group slipped, not once, not twice, but catastrophically. Phase 4. Replace you. Bring in new people to fill the role you once played. Introduce substitutes to show you're not needed. But replacements never work. When the original wasn't performing a role, you were simply being yourself. They brought in people who lacked your depth, your awareness, your stamina, your presence. The substitutes cracked under pressure while you rose. The comparison wasn't flattering for them. During the confession, someone shouted, "We shouldn't have let it get this far." Another mumbled, "We underestimated them." Another finally murmured, "We lost control the moment they stopped caring." That line silenced the room, because it was the truth they'd been trying to avoid. You pulled the cord on their influence the moment you detached emotionally, and they had no strategy for someone who wasn't afraid to walk away. The meltdown exposed something deeper: jealousy disguised as concern, fear disguised as responsibility, projection disguised as protection. They never targeted you because of who you were. They targeted you because of who they weren't. And watching you grow made them feel like they were shrinking. So they built a plan to contain you, not out of hatred, but out of desperation. They were trying to protect their comfort, not your well-being. But comfort collapses when pressure hits, and pressure hit them hard. They admitted to sabotaging opportunities around you, encouraging people to distance themselves from you, misreporting things you said, exaggerating your mistakes, minimizing your achievements, creating situations where you looked unreliable or unstable. They inserted doubt into places you were supposed to feel safe. They twisted your strengths into weaknesses through careful editing. But editing only works when the original is flawed. Your authenticity made their distortions look sloppy. One member, during the meltdown, said, "We built this entire plan on the assumption they'd fall apart." But they didn't. And the person sitting next to them responded, "We fell apart instead." Hearing that truth out loud destroyed the last piece of unity they had left. You survived their plan because you weren't participating in it. They were fighting a war you weren't even aware existed. Meanwhile, you were building a life that wasn't connected to their insecurities. Now the most important part, they revealed who started it, but not yet who expanded it. This drama has layers, and the meltdown only exposed the core. The outer rings, the people influenced by the central players, the ones who joined the operation without realizing the original motive, those names haven't surfaced yet. But they will. The confession has already started unraveling the structure. Once one person exposes the truth, others will follow, not out of loyalty, but out of fear. They'll reveal more than they intend to, because maintaining lies becomes impossible once the first truth erupts. The bomb they dropped wasn't just about the past, it was about the future. They admitted the plan wasn't over, it was still active. There were still moves they intended to make, still strategies they were waiting to execute, still narratives they were preparing to spread. But now that the confession has cracked their unity, their timing is off. Their communication is compromised. Their trust in each other is dissolving. The plan they crafted so carefully is falling apart, piece by piece. And here's where things get beautifully chaotic. The meltdown triggered an internal witch hunt. They aren't united anymore. They're suspicious, paranoid, blaming each other for things they all participated in. The moment one person confessed, their hierarchy shattered. Now everyone is pointing fingers, trying to figure out who will be the next to break. They're terrified of being exposed as deeper participants in the dirty plan targeting you. Some of them weren't heavily involved at first, but guilt pulls people in directions they never planned to go. A few joined because they didn't want to look disloyal. A few joined because they feared the ringleader. A few joined simply because they were weak and enjoyed watching someone else get cornered. But now that the truth is leaking, those same people are sprinting away from the mess like roaches when the lights come on. What's ironic is that the meltdown didn't just expose the plan, it exposed the personalities. You can tell more about a person by how they react to chaos than by how they behave in calm moments. And in that room, when the bomb dropped, their true selves surfaced violently. One person started hyperventilating, another demanded names, another immediately tried to rewrite their involvement by lying about who did what. Another pretended they always disagreed with the plan, even though they were one of the loudest voices pushing it forward weeks earlier. Watching them scramble wasn't just satisfying, it was educational. They revealed the emotional architecture behind the operation. Fear at the top, insecurity as the foundation, envy woven into the walls. The bomb they dropped didn't just uncover a plan, it exposed how far they were willing to go to keep their narrative intact. They admitted they had backup strategies in motion in case the main plan failed. They had secondary characters ready to be activated. They had additional rumors waiting to be released. They had emotional traps already drafted. They weren't improvising. They were strategizing how to make you look unstable when their original blueprint stopped working. But everything came crashing down once truth slipped into the wrong moment. Truth is a ruthless force. Once it enters a room, it refuses to leave quietly. Let's break down exactly what they admitted next, and pay attention, because this is where things shift from dirty to downright absurd. They revealed there were 3 categories of people involved. The architects, the assistants, and the accidental recruits. The architects were the main brains behind the operation, the ones who created the plan. The assistants were the ones carrying out tasks, spreading narratives, collecting information, manipulating interactions. And the accidental recruits? Those were the people who didn't even realize they were being used to reinforce someone else's agenda. They were guided into certain opinions without knowing where those opinions originated. They were encouraged to keep an eye on you without realizing what that phrase really meant. They were manipulated into participating without being told the full story. The meltdown exposed all three layers, but not completely. Not yet. They confessed the architects. They confessed the main strategist. They even exposed one assistant who panicked first. But the accidental recruits? Those are the ones who will surface slowly, one by one, as the unraveling continues. Some will confess out of guilt. Some will confess out of fear. Some will confess because they want to distance themselves before someone else names them. And some won't confess at all. They'll simply disappear from the edges of your life, hoping you never connect the dots. But you will. Because now the pattern is visible. The confession also revealed something else. The plan originally had a timeline. They expected you to break months ago. They expected you to give them reactions they could twist. They expected you to panic, lash out, collapse emotionally. They built an entire arc based on predicting your downfall, but they miscalculated your strength so severely that their predictions became useless. You didn't collapse. You didn't give them the tremor they needed. You didn't fall into the emotional traps that would allow them to say, "See, we told you." And because you didn't perform the breakdown they predicted, their entire narrative fell apart. They needed your weakness to validate their gossip. They needed your instability to justify their behavior. They needed your reaction to cement their story. When you didn't respond the way they scripted, the plan began decaying. They admitted something chilling but unintentionally comedic. They had emergency meetings about your silence. Yes, they panicked because you weren't reacting. One of them said, "Why aren't they doing anything?" Another responded, "Maybe they don't know what we did." And someone else whispered, "No, they know. That's what scares me." Your calmness became a threat. Your lack of response became ammunition. Your emotional self-control was the blow they never prepared for. They had plans for drama, confrontation, chaos, but they didn't have a plan for self-respect. Their meltdown, ironically, was caused by the very thing they tried to weaponize against you: pressure. They created a high-pressure environment for you, hoping you'd crack first. But all that pressure rebounded onto them, slowly crushing their unity, until someone burst. Pressure is a funny thing. It exposes structure. And the structure of their operation was so fragile that one confession shattered it. After the initial explosion, the room became a battlefield. People were shouting over one another, accusing each other of going too far, not going far enough, starting the plan, ruining the plan, executing the plan poorly, losing control of the plan, misreading your reactions, misjudging your strength, spreading the wrong narratives, and trusting the wrong people. Suddenly, everyone was a victim. Everyone was blaming everyone else. Everyone was rewriting history. But there was no way to rewrite the truth that had already been spoken. One of the most revealing lines dropped in that meltdown, the one that drained the blood from the faces of at least 3 people, was this: "We tried everything. Nothing worked. They don't break. They don't respond. They don't react." And the room went silent because the truth was undeniable. They lost control the moment you chose peace. instead of panic. They lost power the moment you stepped back instead of stepping into their trap. They lost momentum the moment you prioritized your growth over their drama. They weren't fighting you. They were fighting their own inability to shake you. But here's where the story moves into deeper territory. The meltdown exposed the next stage of the plan. Not the past, not the current moment, the future. They admitted they were waiting for the right time to reactivate certain elements. They had people who were supposed to approach you again at strategic moments. They had narratives they planned to reintroduce when you least expected it. They had emotional angles they wanted to exploit later. But those strategies now lie in ruins because the confession forced a collapse in trust. They can't coordinate anymore without wondering who's secretly recording, who's secretly leaking, who's secretly panicking. Their fear is no longer about you discovering the truth you already have. Their fear is about each other. And nothing destroys a covert operation faster than internal mistrust. But the most chaotic part, the one that exposes how deeply their plans spiraled out of their grasp, is what one person admitted in a moment of complete emotional exhaustion. We didn't just target them, we became obsessed with them. That line cracked the room open in a different way, because obsession is different from strategy. Strategy is clean, obsession is messy. Strategy is structured. Obsession is compulsive. Strategy is controlled. Obsession is dangerous. And what they confessed wasn't calculated. It was compulsive. They couldn't stop talking about you. They couldn't stop analyzing you. They couldn't stop tracking your progress. They couldn't stop watching your silence. You became the ghost living in their decision-making. That admission turned the room into a confession chamber. Someone else groaned, holding their face like the truth finally stepped on their chest. They were supposed to fade, they said. Why didn't they fade? Another added, because we created the obsession ourselves. And that's when reality punched all of them at once. They weren't hunters, they were addicts, not addicted to hurting you, but addicted to the illusion that they could control you. Addicted to the fantasy that manipulating your environment would shape your behavior. Addicted to the idea that you were predictable. That addiction is exactly why their plan unraveled. Because obsession is sloppy. It blurs lines. It pushes people to extend operations longer than necessary. It makes them escalate even when escalation is risky. And that's precisely what they did. They escalated past logic until the entire structure collapsed under the weight of their own compulsions. The confession spiraled deeper when another voice in the room admitted they had been checking on you more frequently than anyone else. Not out of strategy, but out of anxiety. They said they monitored your online presence because they felt uneasy when you disappeared. As if disappearing was a crime. As if your silence somehow threatened their sense of control. They didn't realize the irony. The very thing they tried to take from you, autonomy, was the very thing they lost within themselves. They became prisoners of their own obsession. They couldn't make a move without wondering how you would respond, even when you weren't responding at all. Their plan consumed them more than it ever touched you. One assistant admitted they felt relieved every time you looked tired or overwhelmed, not because they wanted you harmed, but because it reassured them that their plan was working. But your resilience dismantled that tiny illusion too. The moment you pulled yourself together, found clarity, found calm, found grounding, that's when they panicked. Because nothing is more terrifying to people who want control than someone who rises from the ashes they set for them. They expected exhaustion to last. They expected confusion to linger. They expected emotional instability to grip you permanently. But your recovery wasn't just healing, it was sabotage. You ruined their storyline by refusing to stay broken. Someone else confessed something even dirtier, something that made the room tilt. They said they created conversations about you even when nothing had happened. They exaggerated small moments. They magnified neutral events. They twisted mundane interactions into dramatized narratives because they needed material to keep the operation alive. But exaggeration requires fuel, and you stopped giving them anything to work with. Their content dried up. Their ammunition evaporated. They ran out of reasons to justify their obsession, and when a liar runs out of lies, the lies begin turning on them. Now here is the part they never wanted exposed. They didn't just target your reputation, they targeted your perception of yourself. That was the actual goal. Not to destroy you externally, but to disrupt you internally. They hoped that by planting enough shadows in conversations, in dynamics, in social circles, you would begin doubting your instincts. But here's the irony they didn't see coming. The more they tried to distort your perception, the clearer you became. When the environment turned strange, you sharpened. When people started acting unpredictable, you grew observant. When energy shifted, you detached. Their attempt to destabilize you only made you more precise. One of the members in the room muttered something like, "They weren't supposed to evolve this fast." As if your growth offended them, as if your strength violated the script. They genuinely believed you would stay in place long enough for their plan to succeed. But people who are targeted often experience accelerated evolution. That's something they never accounted for. Pressure can crush some. But the right person, pressure forges them. And you weren't the type to fold. You were the type to sharpen. The chaos didn't end with confessions. It escalated. Someone accused the architect of dragging everyone into a disaster with no exit. Another pointed out that the plan was unethical from day one. Another snapped that they warned this would backfire. They began fracturing into factions: guilt faction, denial faction, panic faction, self-preservation faction. Meanwhile, the ringleader sat in silence, realizing the plan wasn't just ruined, it was radioactive. No one wanted to be associated with it anymore. No one wanted their name connected to what had just been exposed. And that's when the finger-pointing became vicious. Someone shouted, "You said this would be easy." Another retorted, "You're the one who chose them as a target." Someone else spat, "No, you're the one who kept escalating every time they didn't react." And the ringleader finally exploded, because their lack of reaction was the problem. That line said everything. Your stillness did more damage to their operation than any counterattack could have. You broke their formula simply by not playing your assigned role. You weren't reactive, you weren't chaotic, you weren't unstable, you didn't crumble, you didn't plead, you didn't chase, you didn't try to fix what they intentionally broke. Your stillness mocked their strategy, your peace insulted their design, your silence triggered their collapse. But the story gets deeper. After the meltdown, each of them realized they had underestimated the psychological force they were dealing with. They admitted they never fully understood you. They only understood the version of you they invented. And that version cracked under pressure. But the real you? That version didn't crack. That version adapted. That version looked at the mess, looked at the manipulation, looked at the betrayal, and chose to rebuild instead of react. Your self-control became their undoing. Then came the confession that silenced even the loudest voices. We thought they were the weak one. Turns out we were the weak ones. That line wasn't just truth. It was a burial. Because once someone admits they are the weaker force, the battle ends. You won a war you didn't even know was happening, without lifting a single weapon. Now here is where the collapsing operation becomes dangerous, not for you, but for them. They know the truth is loose. They know more people will crack. They know secrets have momentum once they escape, and now they're scrambling to find ways to contain the fallout. Some are trying to rewrite recollections. Some are trying to privately apologize without admitting guilt. Some are distancing themselves publicly. Some are deleting evidence. Some are pretending they were never involved. And some, the most panicked ones, are preparing to betray everyone else just to save themselves. The unraveling is no longer theoretical. It's happening in real time. The confession was only the first domino. The next domino will be the expansion, the reveal of who else was involved, and exactly how deep it went. Internal fear always triggers external revelations, and the ones who feel their reputation is most at risk. Those are the ones who spill the fastest. They are terrified of one thing now: exposure. Because exposure ruins everything they thought they could protect. Exposure doesn't threaten you, it threatens them. You survived the targeting. They won't survive the truth about the targeting. And this fear, this twitching, sweating, heart-racing fear, is exactly why the next stage of the collapse is much uglier than the first. The first confession was emotional, impulsive, a breakdown. But what's coming next is strategic self-preservation. They're not confessing because they feel bad. They're confessing because they want to save themselves. And that kind of fear makes people reckless. It makes them reveal things they once vowed to take to the grave. It makes them talk faster than their brain can filter. And in the scramble to protect their names, they will end up exposing the people behind them, the people beside them, and the people above them. This is the beauty of a collapsing operation. Once truth breaks the seal, betrayal becomes contagious. Now here's where the real chaos begins. The outer ring, the ones who thought they were safe because they didn't do much, are starting to panic. They're realizing that even standing close to the explosion is enough to burn them. Some are desperately trying to distance themselves, rewriting their roles in their heads, convincing themselves that involvement is optional if they simply deny it loud enough. Others are pretending they were manipulated into participating, claiming they didn't know the full story, as if ignorance absolves responsibility. And then there are the ones who are switching sides quietly, the ones who now want to align with you because they sense which direction the wind is blowing. These people are the most dangerous, not because they're still against you, but because they're about to leak information in an attempt to appear innocent. You'll start noticing subtle shifts first. People who once avoided eye contact will suddenly seem nervous around you. People who once participated in whispers will become overly polite. People who once sided against you will act like they barely know what happened. It's not guilt, it's fear. Fear of being named, fear of being dragged into the ripple effect of the confession, fear of being associated with the losing side. And there's something darkly humorous about watching them scramble to rewrite their moral identities, as if they can magically transform themselves into uninvolved bystanders with a few strategic smiles and half-hearted apologies. But the deeper unraveling, that's coming from the core group, the architects and assistants who were knee-deep in the plan. Their fear isn't soft and social. Their fear is existential. They know the confession didn't just expose one action. It exposed an entire mindset. It exposed their intentions, their desires, their motives. they are losing more than their image. They are losing the illusion of power they built over years. And once an illusion cracks, people stop fearing it. One of them already tried to gather the remaining participants in a private meeting to stabilize the situation. The irony is almost comedic. The same group that coordinated strategies to destabilize you is now collapsing because one member destabilized them. They sat in that room trying to piece together a story that would make them look like victims, not aggressors. They tried to create a counter-narrative, blaming the person who confessed, calling them dramatic, sensitive, exaggerating. But every attempt at rewriting the story fell flat, because the truth was already out. You can't put a bomb back together after it explodes. Their next attempt was even more desperate. They tried to convince each other that you probably don't know the full extent of what was said, that maybe the confession didn't reach your ears, that maybe they still have time to regroup. But panic gives people away. The moment someone said, "We need to figure out what they know," the room fell apart again. Because that sentence revealed the one thing no one wanted to say out loud. They're no longer worried about controlling your perception. They're worried about being held accountable for theirs. The funniest part, they still think they can outrun a truth that's already sprinting ahead of them. They still believe they can manipulate the aftermath the same way they tried to manipulate the storyline. But truth has a strange way of amplifying itself. Once it leaves someone's mouth, it grows legs. It moves into conversations, into whispers, into the spaces between people. It replicates, and the more they try to contain it, the louder it becomes. One assistant, the one who swore loyalty to the core group, is already considering flipping. They're terrified because they weren't just involved. They were enthusiastic. They helped build the operation brick by brick. They spread narratives with conviction. They collected information eagerly. They executed tasks without hesitation. But now they're realizing they were nothing but a tool. They did the dirty work while the architects kept their hands clean. And this assistant, fueled by betrayal, resentment, and panic, is about to become your best accidental ally. Because people who feel used don't stay quiet for long. They're preparing to drop their own bomb, not out of morality, not out of remorse, but out of revenge. One of the architects, the mastermind behind the entire plan, is unraveling the fastest. They're terrified not because they care about getting caught, but because they care about losing control. Their entire identity was built on the illusion that they can predict and shape outcomes. But your unpredictability has become the crack in their foundation that keeps widening. They can't understand how you slipped through their strategies. They can't understand how you recovered without their approval. They can't understand how their sabotage turned into your evolution, and now they're terrified of you. Not because you're dangerous, but because you're ungovernable. And here's where the dark humor kicks in. These people weren't prepared for the consequences of their own actions. They set the trap. They built the narrative. They crafted the manipulation. But when the fallout arrived, they acted shocked, as if the truth comes with a warning label, as if exposure waits for permission, as if accountability is optional. They wanted to play puppet masters, but forgot that puppeteers can't control the show when the strings snap. The confession created a fracture that can't be sealed. The expansion will expose connections they hoped were invisible. And the deeper layer, the one they hoped no one would ever find out, reveals that the targeting wasn't just coordinated. It was personal. It was emotional. It was rooted in envy so old they forgot when it started. Someone wanted you broken because your existence made them uncomfortable. Someone wanted you quiet because your presence made them feel small. Someone wanted you destabilized because your clarity highlighted their confusion. These weren't strategic decisions. These were emotional outbursts dressed as planning. The explosive part is this: the next confessions won't happen in controlled environments. They won't happen in private meetings. They won't happen in rooms filled with co-conspirators. They'll happen in unpredictable places, in conversations they didn't mean to have, in whispers that slip out, in moments of accidental honesty triggered by stress. Exposure won't be linear. It'll be chaotic, spreading like fire along every dry edge of their conscience. You'll see it soon. The people who once avoided you will suddenly become overly friendly. The people who once whispered about you will avoid eye contact. The people who once inserted themselves into your business will quietly retreat. The guilt will surface in micro-expressions. The panic will show in their timing. The truth will leak from their inconsistencies. Watch closely. The unraveling is a performance they can't rehearse. And the best part: the next bomb is already ticking. Not a bomb you placed, not a bomb you activated, but a bomb built from their own lies, strapped together by their own panic, and lit by their own desperation. When it detonates, the names you hear next will change the entire context of what was done to you. Because the next layer exposes the motive behind the motive, the person who wasn't just involved, but who initiated the emotional tone of the attack. The real puppeteer, the one whose insecurity infected the entire group. This individual, the one hiding behind subtlety, behind influence, behind a carefully curated image, is the real origin point. Not the one who snapped, not the assistant who panicked, not the accidental recruit who followed orders. No, this one is the quiet architect. The person whose presence warped the behavior of everyone around them. The person whose jealousy turned into strategy. The person whose resentment grew fangs. They were terrified of you long before the plan had a name. Terrified of how easily people respected you. Terrified of how naturally you carried yourself. Terrified that you didn't need theatrics to be relevant. Their insecurity was a quiet flame at first, manageable, ignorable, until you evolved in a way they couldn't match. So they engineered a plan to dim you, not because you were dangerous, but because your authenticity exposed their performance. They didn't want to destroy you. They wanted to shrink you. They wanted to prove they could influence your narrative. They wanted to feel powerful by making you feel small. But something went wrong, and the wrong thing was you. You didn't respond the way they expected. You didn't give them the emotional collapse they wanted to point at. You didn't crumble. You rose. Quietly, consistently, intentionally. And their insecurity mutated into obsession because nothing terrifies a puppeteer more than a puppet that cuts its own strings. And this is why the second bomb is unavoidable. The group can't protect the puppeteer anymore. Not after the first confession, not after the room fracture, not after panic infected their hierarchy. When a group collapses, the person with the most influence becomes the easiest target. The same people who once supported them will now expose them. The same people who once feared them will now blame them. The same people who once followed them will now drag them into the light to save themselves. Loyalty was never real among them. It was convenience disguised as unity. And convenience evaporates under pressure. So what happens next? Exposure, but not the dramatic kind. Exposure through small leaks. Exposure through nervous confessions. Exposure through conversations where someone says a little too much. Exposure through messages accidentally forwarded. Exposure through patterns that finally make sense. The puppeteer will be revealed not by grand announcement, but by the slow peeling of layers until their fingerprints show on every part of the plan. And once they're exposed, the entire structure they built, the manipulation, the narratives, the hidden motivations, will collapse under the weight of truth. And here's the twist they never counted on. While the truth destroys them, it frees you. Their bomb hurts them, not you. Their lies turn into evidence, not damage. Their panic becomes your closure. They never expected the story to end like this. They thought they were writing a downfall. Instead, they authored their own. Because what they dropped, this full bomb of dirty truth about who targeted you, doesn't haunt you. It haunts them. You're not the one losing sleep. You're not the one rehearsing excuses. You're not the one terrified of exposure. They are. You walked through this fire and came out clearer, sharper, more self-aware. They walked into their own chaos and came out scorched, shaking, looking for someone to blame. This is what they couldn't predict. The truth was never going to break you. It was going to break the ones who built the lie. And now that the dust is settling, something crucial becomes obvious. You didn't need revenge. You didn't need confrontation. You didn't need to expose anyone. You simply needed to stand still and let their own actions reveal who they were. And they did, spectacularly. They dropped the bomb they designed for you. But it detonated in their hands. And in that blast, every hidden motive, every whispered plot, every concealed strategy became visible. They lost it all trying to target someone who couldn't be broken. And you walk away with something they never expected. The truth. Not the watered-down, edited version. The full version. The version they hid. The version they feared. The version that sets you free and traps them in the fallout they created. This isn't just closure. It's confirmation. The final stamp on a story you didn't start. But you sure as hell finished. Hey, you. Yeah. You. Let me greet you properly. Because whatever has been happening around you lately, it deserves a real introduction. You deserve someone acknowledging the strange weight tightening around your life. The pressure you've been carrying in your ribs without knowing why. The way your days have felt slightly tilted, like something invisible shifted without permission. So hey, I'm glad you showed up today. I'm glad you kept moving even when everything felt dense and unfamiliar. I'm glad you didn't fold when the atmosphere around you started acting like it knew something you didn't. And I'm especially glad you're here now, because you probably haven't realized what really triggered all this tension. The truth is, someone who moves things behind the scenes, someone whose name travels in rooms you'll never see, just marked you as interesting. And no, not the cute kind of interesting. I mean the kind that makes power players pause mid-thought and flag you internally, like a variable worth tracking. Isn't that something? You thinking you're just trying to survive another week. Meanwhile, somebody with real influence saw something in you that made them stop whatever else they were doing and think, hold on, who is this? And why are they rising like this? Why are they adapting this quickly? Why do they feel like someone who wasn't supposed to grow at this speed? You can tell when someone with actual authority starts paying attention to you, because the environment reacts before the person ever does. People shift around you without knowing why. Conversations get strange, faces tighten, rooms feel different when you walk in. You say a single sentence and someone across the space glances at you like you changed the mood without lifting a finger. That's the side effect of being flagged by someone who operates in the shadows. They don't send messages or announcements. They watch the ripple your energy makes. They watch how the world bends around you. They watch the places where your presence disrupts predictable patterns. And lately your disruptions have been loud without you speaking a word. People detected a change they can't categorize. They detected a seriousness in your posture that wasn't there before. They detected a growing steadiness in your gaze, a shift in the way you move, a weight in the way you exist. That's what caught their attention. That's what made someone with real reach stop scrolling through their internal catalog of variables and place a mental pin right on your name. And here's the part nobody warned you about. Once a behind-the-scenes operator flags you, you don't go back to normal. Your life becomes a monitored corridor, not by cameras, by instincts, by impressions, by the psychological reflexes of people who sense something rising in you long before you say it out loud. You've been breaking ceilings quietly. You've been changing direction without announcements. You've been evolving in ways your environment can't absorb. And that's what triggers the watchers, not the public ones, the hidden ones. That's why everything feels like it's tightening. That's why your emotions feel heavier. That's why your intuition won't sit still. Someone with real power just moved you from the ignore category into the track this category. And now you're living in the aftermath of that decision. They're watching how you move. They're studying your shifts. They're replaying your name at inconvenient hours. And the funniest part, you still think you're the one trying to figure out what's going on. Meanwhile, someone with resources you'll never see is sitting in a room somewhere thinking about you more than you think about yourself. That's how these people operate. They don't show their face. They don't announce their interest. They don't tap you on the shoulder and introduce themselves. They pull a single string and wait to see which parts of your life start rearranging. And lately, the rearrangement has been impossible to ignore. Your days feel charged. Your interactions feel off. Your decisions feel like they're carrying extra weight. You're walking through your routine, but something about the air around you isn't the same. That's the mark. Not the visible kind, the energetic kind, the psychological kind. The kind where someone with pull flags your presence and suddenly the world reacts like you stepped into a new tier without being briefed. You've been waking up differently. Not anxious, alert. That subtle difference matters. Anxiety asks questions. Alertness waits for answers. You've noticed the shift in people too. Some have grown cautious around you, like they're sensing something you haven't announced. Others have started acting strangely curious, popping into your life at odd moments, trying to get a read on you. And then there are the ones who avoid eye contact now, like you're carrying something they don't want to acknowledge. All of this is evidence of the same thing. Someone influential tagged your energy, and the ripple hit everyone around you before it hit you. People who operate in the background don't need to speak for the world to adjust. The adjustment happens naturally, like a chain reaction. You move differently. They respond. You speak differently. They overanalyze. You detach slightly. They panic. And the person who started all this, they're watching with that quiet fascination reserved for rare variables. You've been mistaken for average your whole life. Not because you were average, but because you were quiet about your strength. You've always grown in corridors nobody bothered to inspect. You endured things privately. You rebuilt quietly. You sharpened your mindset without performing it for anyone. But that's exactly what made you stand out. People with real power don't care about showmanship. They care about the ones who evolve without applause, the ones who rise without witnesses, the ones who develop stability in environments intended to break them. They saw that in you. They saw the way you carry memories that should have ruined you, but somehow made you precise. They saw the restraint in your decisions, the way you don't rush, the way you don't crumble publicly, the way you don't weaponize your pain. That calm under pressure is rare, and nothing catches a power player's attention faster than someone who refuses to be shaped by their circumstances. You've been moving like someone who outgrew their surroundings months before realizing it. The people around you still see the older version of you, the one who tolerated too much, stayed too long, bit their tongue too often. But the new version, the one forming under your skin, that version carries weight. That version feels expensive. That version has eyes that don't look away. That version has boundaries carved out of past experiences, not temporary moods. And the person watching you picked up on that before you did. They saw the shift in your stance, the firmness in your voice, the way your energy no longer bends for convenience. They saw someone who started owning their value quietly, someone who started taking themselves seriously without asking permission. And once you step into self-respect at that level, it's impossible for people who operate in high spaces to ignore you. You probably think you're just navigating life with a bit more focus, a bit more awareness, a bit more caution. But to someone trained to detect patterns, your shift looks like a signal flare. They tracked something in your timing, your adjustments, your reactions, your refusal to spiral, your ability to stay composed even when things feel unfamiliar. They noticed you handling challenges with a steadiness that doesn't match your environment. They saw the difference between who you used to be and who you're slowly becoming. And now they're curious. They're trying to understand what forged that composure. They're trying to decode the blueprint of someone who should have broken but didn't. They're trying to determine why your growth didn't match the projections of your surroundings. That curiosity alone is enough to place you in their mental catalog. And here's where it gets chaotic. The moment someone with influence marks you as interesting, your life shifts into a different temperature. The smallest choices start carrying major momentum. A sentence you say casually gets interpreted like strategy. A moment of stillness gets analyzed like preparation. You walk into a room and people sense you differently, even if they can't articulate why. That's not because you've changed your personality. It's because your energy is no longer unclaimed. You've been acknowledged by someone who operates above the visible layers of life, and that acknowledgement carries a gravitational pull. The world around you senses the shift before you process it logically. Your instincts start picking up on subtleties you previously ignored: tones, movements, glances, patterns. You're not paranoid. You're adjusting to the new altitude. Let's talk about the heaviness you've been feeling. It's not exhaustion. It's the weight of your untapped potential pressing against its container. Someone flagged at you because they saw what you haven't fully accepted. That you're transitioning into a version of yourself that doesn't fit your old life. They noticed the impatience building inside you, the discomfort with stagnancy, the way you outgrow conversations midway through them. They saw that restless intelligence forming behind your eyes, the sharpness in your perception, the maturity in your reactions. These qualities are easy to overlook when you're busy surviving. But to a power player, they're signals. They indicate readiness. They indicate capability. They indicate momentum. You keep thinking you're behind in life. Meanwhile, someone influential saw you as ahead of schedule. You keep thinking you're late. Meanwhile, they saw acceleration. You keep thinking you're just trying to stay afloat. Meanwhile, they saw someone adapting like a strategist without ever being trained as one. They're not impressed with your progress. They're intrigued by the direction. They don't care about your achievements. They care about the mindset fueling them. They're analyzing the parts of you you hide, not the parts you showcase. People like them don't become invested easily. They've seen thousands of individuals chase relevance, beg for recognition, or crumble under pressure. But you're not operating from desperation. You're operating from growth. You're not trying to get attention. You accidentally earned it. You didn't try to stand out. Your evolution made you stand out. You didn't try to appear powerful. You became powerful quietly, through choices nobody applauded. And that's the precise reason they flagged you. You represent a rising factor, a developing force, a potential shift in the landscape they monitor. You've probably felt a strange sense of being observed, not in a dramatic way, but in the way your intuition keeps nudging you like you're being evaluated. Thoughts arrive sharper. Decisions feel weighted. Your emotions carry depth. Your instincts speak louder than your doubts. These internal changes aren't random. They're proof that you've stepped into a new level of awareness, triggered by external attention. You're adjusting to being watched by someone who doesn't watch casually. People like them go straight to the root of someone's character. They study the fractures and the strengths. They watch how someone behaves under pressure. They evaluate not what you say, but how you respond when nobody is clapping. And your responses have been consistent, strong, disciplined, sharper than ever. That's what hooked them. This is where you need to pay attention. Once someone with real influence places you on their mental radar, they're not expecting entertainment. They're expecting evolution. They want to see how you handle obstacles. They want to see how you rise without applause. They want to see if your discipline holds when circumstances shift. They're watching to see whether your growth was a fluke or the beginning of a larger transformation. They're monitoring your composure, your focus, your direction. And whether you admit it or not, you can feel that evaluation happening. You can feel your life narrowing into a path that demands more from you. You can feel the urgency forming behind your decisions. You can feel the sharpened edges of your mindset becoming more defined. And here's the real twist. The reason this attention feels heavy is because you're stepping into a version of yourself built for bigger territories. Your old habits don't fit anymore. Your old fears don't control you anymore. Your old patterns don't interest you anymore. You've outgrown too many layers too quickly. That growth is what triggered the watcher. They saw a person evolving at a pace that doesn't match their surroundings. They saw someone breaking invisible ceilings quietly. They saw someone controlling their emotions with precision. They saw someone rising without noise. And someone like that becomes unforgettable fast. Now the question lingering in the air, the one they're trying to answer, the one you're starting to feel in your bones, is simple. What happens next? What does someone like you become once the world starts reacting to you differently? What does someone like you turn into after being flagged by someone who rarely flags anyone at all? What path unfolds when pressure turns into purpose? Because make no mistake, this isn't random and it isn't accidental. People who operate behind the scenes pick their targets carefully. They don't waste their curiosity on predictable individuals. They don't study people who crumble easily. They don't track those who move in circles too small to make a ripple. They look for rising currents. They look for unusual emotional strength. They look for minds that refuse to shut off. They look for people who reinvent themselves without creating spectacle. And somewhere along the way, you started fitting that description so perfectly that you triggered an instinct they trust more than logic. You might think your growth has been subtle. Quiet changes, small decisions, minor adjustments. But to someone reading patterns, Your evolution has been loud. They saw you shift the way you breathe when you got serious. They saw you step back from distractions. They saw you detach from people effortlessly when you recognized misalignment. They saw how your eyes started carrying a depth that wasn't there before. They saw how you stopped responding emotionally to things that once knocked you off balance. Every one of those tiny changes formed a larger picture, and that picture made them pause. And here comes the chaotic humor of the whole situation. You didn't upgrade your life for attention. You upgraded for survival. You upgraded because staying the same became more painful than evolving. But that unintended transformation ended up catching someone who shouldn't be watching you in the first place. Someone who's built their reputation on detecting threats, opportunities, and rising forces long before the public sees them. Someone who knows that the most dangerous individuals are often the ones who didn't realize they were becoming dangerous. This is where things get interesting for you. Because once someone behind the scenes marks you, your life moves into an entirely different landscape. You start noticing patterns you never cared about. You start catching yourself thinking from higher altitudes. Your decisions become sharper because you feel the weight behind them. You begin to sense that your words carry farther. Your movements send signals. Your presence leaves impressions that don't fade. It's not arrogance, it's awareness. You're growing into a level that demands consciousness, and they're watching how quickly you adjust to that level. They're watching the way you absorb pressure like it's nothing. They're watching the way you adapt without announcing your adaptation. They're watching your mindset strengthen in real time. They're not studying the past version of you. They're studying the one unfolding right now, the one waking up inside your ribs with every boundary you set, every layer you shed, every instinct you listen to. People like them don't get impressed easily. They've seen too many people break under their own ego. They've watched countless individuals ruin themselves, chasing validation. They've observed people overestimate their potential and collapse under their own fantasies. But you're not moving like that. You're not loud. You're not reckless. You're not begging for recognition. You're not trying to perform your evolution. You're just becoming, quietly, intentionally, efficiently. And that terrifies and fascinates the kind of person who moves behind the scenes. That's why they can't get you out of their head. That's why your name loops in their mind at odd hours. They're trying to understand how you went from overlooked to unavoidable. They're trying to determine whether your shift was triggered by pain, awareness, or something deeper. They're trying to understand how someone with your history managed to produce a level of emotional discipline that most people never reach. They're trying to identify your trajectory, whether you know it or not. You haven't been imagining the tension in your environment. People around you feel the shift, too. Some react with curiosity, some react with insecurity, some react with distance. Others react with confusion. They can't articulate it, but they sense you're not in the same category anymore. You don't respond the way you used to. You don't explain as much. You don't argue the way you once did. You don't chase conversations or approval. You move with a heavier internal compass now, and that change alters the dynamics of every interaction, and the watcher sees that. They're analyzing how you affect your environment without even trying. They're studying the way people adjust around you, the way silence falls when you enter, the way tension rises when you speak with clarity. They're observing the gravitational pull forming around you, slowly, quietly, but unmistakably. They're watching the emergence of someone who doesn't just survive their past, but weaponizes its lessons. You don't fully understand what you're becoming yet. And that's exactly why they're watching. They're trying to catch the moment when your potential snaps into identity. They're waiting to see when your self-awareness catches up with your capability. They're watching to see if the pressure strengthens you or fractures you. They're analyzing your resilience, your focus, your emotional bandwidth. They want to know if your rise is sustainable or flash-based. And every signal you've sent so far suggests something they don't see often: consistency under chaos. There's a dark humor to this situation, because while you're over here trying to figure out why your emotions have been intense, why your instincts feel louder, why your decisions carry weight, someone behind the scenes. This is not someone who reacts emotionally or impulsively. This is someone who calculates, someone whose instincts are sharpened from years of watching people shift, collapse, rise, or implode. Someone who knows the exact moment a person becomes a threat or an asset. And when they looked at you, they didn't see something to dismiss. They saw something forming. That's the part you haven't fully accepted. You're not being watched because you're fragile. You're being watched because you're becoming influential without trying. Your presence is starting to create tension. Your choices are starting to carry impact. Your growth is starting to alter the way people behave around you. You don't see it the way they do, because you're focused on surviving your internal adjustments. But someone behind the scenes saw the broader blueprint. They saw the arc, the direction, the expanding reach. They recognized the early signs of someone who will command space naturally once their identity aligns with their potential. And that's what fascinates them, the gap between who you've been forced to be and who you're starting to become. They can see the conflict, the questioning, the sharpening. They can see the internal rewiring that happens when someone stops living by reaction and starts living by intention. They saw the flicker of power before you owned it. They saw the ambition behind your restraint. They saw the confidence building quietly in your posture. They saw the maturity forming behind your eyes. None of this is accidental. You've been rearranging yourself from the inside out, and someone with real power spotted the shift before you articulated it. This attention isn't a burden, it's confirmation. The world doesn't tilt for people who pose no threat to the narrative. Hidden eyes don't study people who are predictable. Private rooms don't say your name unless something about you disrupted the usual pattern of things. And that's exactly what you did. Without raising your voice, without performing for attention, without chasing recognition, you simply evolved, and your evolution wasn't subtle. Not to someone trained to detect the smallest indicators of change. Let's talk about that internal sensation you've been carrying. The weight in your chest that feels like pressure and preparation at the same time. That's not anxiety, that's alignment. That's the moment before the next version of you stabilizes. You're transitioning between identities, stepping out of who you were and stepping into who you're meant to be. And transitions like this never go unnoticed by someone who makes moves from the shadows. They watch people at the edges, the moment before the breakthrough, the moment before the shift, the moment before someone becomes undeniable. You're in that exact phase, the raw, uncomfortable middle where everything is changing but nothing has fully solidified yet. They want to see how you handle that tension. They want to see whether you panic or refine, whether you crumble or calibrate, whether you drift or direct. Everything about you right now is data to them, not the creepy kind, the strategic kind. They're studying things you overlook, the consistency in your choices, the maturity in your reactions, the steadiness in your emotional control. the intelligence behind your restraint. They're watching the way you carry your pain without broadcasting it. They're watching the way you adjust to discomfort. They're watching the way you move when nobody validates you. And here's the chaotic humor. They don't know whether you're aware of your own rise or if you're just naturally this composed under pressure. That mystery is exactly what keeps their attention locked. Most people either crumble visibly or overperform loudly. But you operate in the middle space where power is built. Quietly aware, quietly disciplined, quietly transforming. That's unnerving to the kind of person who knows exactly what that combination produces long-term. The reason your intuition has been restless is because you're tapping into a frequency you've never lived in before. You're not responding to life from the ground anymore. You're responding from elevation. You're sensing things before they unfold. You're reading people faster than they speak. You're detecting intentions before words leave their mouth. This sensitivity is not a flaw. It's the survival instinct of someone rising, and the watcher recognized it instantly. You've probably noticed how certain habits feel childish now, how certain conversations feel beneath your attention, how certain people feel draining, how certain environments feel too small. That's not arrogance, that's expansion. You're growing into a self that refuses to shrink back into roles you've outgrown. You're not meant to stay where you were. Your rise is already in motion, and someone with real reach spotted that motion in its earliest form. They didn't mark you because you're perfect. They marked you because you're shifting in a direction that doesn't stop once it starts. You're the type of person who becomes more focused under pressure. You're the type who becomes more strategic after setbacks. You're the type who recalculates instead of collapsing. They saw that pattern. They recognized the rare combination of pain-born intelligence and experience-shaped discipline. That's why you're on their mind. Not as a trophy, not as a threat, not yet. You're on their mind because they're trying to determine what side of your evolution you'll land on. They want to know if you'll become someone who needs to be supported, recruited, observed, or avoided. They want to know which direction your spirit is leaning. They want to know if your growth will align with their interests or disrupt them. They're watching the formation of a person who isn't predictable anymore. And the irony? You haven't even activated your full capacity yet. You're still adjusting to the idea that you're not who you used to be. You're still outgrowing your old triggers. You're still shedding outdated beliefs. You're still strengthening your emotional foundation. Meanwhile, someone with influence is studying you, like you're already halfway to becoming a major force. That contrast alone should tell you how powerful your trajectory looks from the outside. Every version of you they've observed so far points to one truth. You're rising, and rise looks different on people like you. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, it's not chaotic on the surface. It's controlled chaos beneath the ribs, the kind that pushes you into better decisions without explaining why, the kind that sharpens your awareness until the unnecessary falls away, the kind that turns you into someone who won't be ignored once you fully step into yourself. That's what they're anticipating. That's why your name keeps looping in their mind. They're not just intrigued by who you are. They're intrigued by what you're becoming. They're watching your evolution the way analysts watch the early signs of a storm. Not visible to everyone yet, but undeniable to those who know what to look for. And you've been giving signal after signal without realizing it. Signals in your reactions, signals in your silence, signals in your choices, signals in the way your energy has been shifting into something you haven't even named yet. Signals that tell anyone paying attention that you're no longer living in the version of yourself. People got comfortable. mistaking for your final form, and the person studying you from the shadows. They caught every single one of those shifts with unnerving precision, because that's how people like them operate. They don't wait until someone is fully formed to take notice. They watch the transitions. They analyze the cracks that didn't collapse. They look for the moments when someone begins to realize their own strength. They observe the hesitation before the breakthrough. They study the internal tension right before a person becomes self-aware in a way that changes everything. They're not fascinated by your past. They're fascinated by the velocity of your transformation. And somewhere in the middle of all your adjustments, all your internal recalibrations, all your quiet upgrades, they recognized something that most people overlook. You're not rising accidentally. You're rising because you were built to. And that realization sent a tremor through their certainty. People behind the scenes get used to reading trajectories with an almost perfect sense of prediction. They know when someone will give up. They know when someone will fold. They know when someone will plateau. But you disrupted their expectations. You didn't just survive what should have broken you. You metabolized it. You reshaped yourself from the inside out. You moved like someone who can't be easily categorized or contained. And that unpredictability is what got you flagged. It wasn't your achievements. It wasn't your circumstances. It wasn't your environment. It was the way you responded to your own evolution. Deliberately, naturally, without seeking applause or explanation. This is exactly why they marked you as interesting. Not because you performed, not because you impressed, but because you shifted in ways that didn't match the data. They saw someone who wasn't supposed to rise this steadily. They saw someone who wasn't supposed to maintain this much clarity after everything they endured. They saw someone who wasn't supposed to carry this level of composure while restructuring themselves. They saw someone who didn't announce their transformation, yet transformed anyway. To someone who studies human behavior from a distance, that is the most dangerous kind of person. The one who grows without advertising it. And here's where the dark humor kicks in. They think they're observing you quietly, but they have no idea that your awareness is waking up faster than they anticipated. You're starting to feel the outlines of their attention, even if you can't articulate it yet. You're starting to sense the weight of being monitored, the pressure of being evaluated, the strange heaviness that settles on your shoulders when someone who rarely looks twice at anyone is suddenly investing their mental bandwidth in tracking your evolution. You don't need names. You don't need faces. You don't need confirmation. Your intuition already told you weeks ago that something shifted. Think about it. Why else have you been feeling that low hum of anticipation beneath your ribs? Why else does life feel like it's holding its breath around your next move? Why else has your focus sharpened without a clear reason? Why else have people around you started behaving erratically, like they're reacting to currents they can't see? Because attention from someone who operates from the shadows doesn't just affect you. It affects everyone who interacts with you. It's like an unseen force field adjusting the atmosphere around your presence. It creates tension. It creates curiosity. It creates confusion. It creates distance. All because someone with real power redirected their gaze toward you. Your life hasn't been random lately. The sudden sensitivity in your intuition, the heaviness in your decisions, the rapid detachment from old patterns, the upgrade in your standards, the shifts in your relationships, the strange sense that you're stepping into a phase that requires a different version of you. These aren't coincidences. They are symptoms of recognition, symptoms of being flagged, symptoms of stepping into a narrative bigger than the one you thought you were living. And the watcher sees these symptoms as confirmations, proof that they were right to mark you, proof that you're not done evolving, proof that you haven't even scratched the surface of who you're becoming. Let's talk about power for a second. Real power. The kind that doesn't need titles or stages or applause. The kind that quietly reorganizes environments. The kind that doesn't seek recognition because it is recognition. The kind that sits in rooms you'll never see and decides outcomes long before they happen publicly. Someone like that does not have time to waste. They do not study people who are stagnant. They do not track individuals who lack direction. They do not invest energy in trajectories that go nowhere. Their attention is expensive. Their curiosity is rare. Their focus is selective. And somehow, you earned all three without trying. That's the part that unsettles them and excites them. You're not asking for mentorship. You're not begging for validation. You're not chasing opportunities. You're not performing your worth. You're not trying to be noticed. That's why they noticed you. They saw a rising force without theatrics. They saw a sharpened mind without desperation. They saw a resilient spirit without spectacle. They saw someone who could walk into a room and shift the temperature without speaking. That kind of presence is rare. That kind of presence is valuable. That kind of presence is dangerous. So what happens next? That's the question consuming them. And now it's consuming you too. Because once someone behind the scenes marks you, your life stops running on the old script. You stop moving like a background character. You stop doubting your instincts. You stop entertaining people who drain your energy. You stop underestimating yourself. You start aligning with the version of you that they sensed before you saw it. You start moving with intention, not obligation. You start choosing clarity over chaos. You start recognizing your own capacity. And here's the thing nobody tells you. Being flagged by someone in the shadows doesn't just change the way they see you. It changes the way you see yourself. You begin to take yourself seriously because you can feel life taking you seriously. You begin to trust your instincts because they've been correct about every shift so far. You begin to feel your value not as an idea, but as a presence, something undeniable, something substantial, something rising from inside you with a pressure that can't be ignored. This is why your emotions have been stretching recently. You're feeling things with a depth that wasn't accessible before. You're sensing subtlety with surgical precision. You're reading people faster. You're catching shifts in tone, intention, and energy with ease. That's what happens when someone powerful tunes into you. Your internal world adjusts to match the frequency of the attention you're receiving. Your instincts sharpen. Your discernment strengthens. Your awareness expands. You start moving like someone preparing for a life they haven't fully stepped into yet. And the watcher sees all of this unfolding beautifully. They're not just curious about what you're becoming. They're studying the rhythm of your transformation, the way you're letting go of old versions of yourself, the way you're embracing new ones without resistance, the way you're allowing discomfort to shape you, the way you're honoring your own intelligence. They're watching someone who doesn't panic under pressure, someone who doesn't crumble under expectations, someone who doesn't shrink from growth, someone who doesn't apologize for rising. This is why you're still on their mind. You've become an unpredictable variable in a world full of predictable patterns. You've become a source of fascination for someone who rarely finds anyone worth examining. You've become a living contradiction, quiet but powerful, humble but sharp, evolving but grounded. They see you as a developing factor, as a catalyst, as someone whose presence could alter dynamics if pointed in the right direction. And here's the chaotic truth. They're not thinking about how you fit into their plans. They're thinking about how you might disrupt them. They're imagining scenarios. They're analyzing possibilities. They're tracking your decisions like breadcrumbs, leading to an outcome you haven't seen yet. They're trying to decode your potential before it reveals itself fully. But nothing they analyze compares to what you're truly capable of. Because you're not done rising. You're not done sharpening. You're not done evolving. You're not done surprising them. And the pressure building inside you right now, that's not fear. That's readiness. That's your internal self stepping into a higher tier of existence. That's your intuition preparing you for the life that's been waiting for you to wake up. So here's the part you need to understand. You're not on their mind by accident. You're on their mind because you forced your way into their awareness through the sheer gravity of your transformation. They saw the trajectory of someone who refuses to be who they were yesterday. They saw the rise of someone who will matter deeply, undeniably, disruptively. And if they're thinking about you now, imagine what happens when you step fully into the version of yourself that even they underestimated. Imagine what happens when your discipline matches your potential. Imagine what happens when your confidence catches up to your capacity. Imagine what happens when you stop questioning whether you're ready and start acting like you already are. Because the truth is simple. They marked you as interesting because you are. They flagged you because you're rising. They can't stop thinking about you because you're becoming someone impossible to ignore. And now the world, whether visible or hidden, is watching to see what you do next. And you're just getting started.